Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to sketch the trig functions sine, cos and tan in radians rather than in degrees. Now if you're new to radians, I'll link my video on that in the description because it's going to be helpful to kind of have some idea on what radians are, and it'll also be useful if you know how to draw a rough sketch of sine, cos and tan in degrees. And again, if you don't know, I'll link my video on that in the description. I'll also link my website so you can go over there and navigate all of my videos in one place. I think it's a bit easier to find what you're looking for. Okay, let's start off by taking a look at sine x, and we're going to be sketching this between 0 and 2 pi radians. Now, just because we're in radians, it doesn't actually change the shape of the sine wave. So we can actually just go ahead and draw the sine wave like we usually do. So it starts off at the origin, it goes up to a peak of 1, goes through 0 down to -1, and then back to 0 again. And we know this function goes between +1 and -1. Now let's think about a few key points that lie on this graph. Well, if we were sketching this in degrees, I know it reaches this peak of 1 at 90 degrees. Well, how many radians is 90 degrees? Well, I kind of just remember that pi radians is equal to 180 degrees. And so if I were to divide both sides of this equation by 2, I would get 1/2 pi radians is equal to 90 degrees. And so this peak on the graph here, which I know is at 90 degrees, is going to be at pi over 2 radians, or 1/2 pi radians. I know that the graph crosses the x-axis here at 0 at 180 degrees, and well, I know that's equal to pi radians, so I can write that on here, so that's at pi radians. I know that it has this trough at -1 at 270 degrees, and so I could work out how many radians that is by multiplying this by 3 on both sides, because that would give me, well, 270 degrees is equal to 3 over 2 pi radians. So again, I'll write that on. So this trough here is at 3 pi over 2 radians. And I know the full period of the sine wave is 360 degrees. Well, if I multiply this both sides by 2, I get 2 pi radians is 360 degrees. And so we're done. Now, I suppose a bit of a shortcut, rather than kind of remembering how to do all of these conversions, I think over time you will remember these, but rather than kind of making an effort to do that, what you can remember is the period of the graph is 2 pi. If we go halfway between 0 and 2 pi, we get to pi, which is where it crosses the x-axis. If we go halfway between 0 and pi, we get pi over 2, which is where the peak is. And if we go halfway between pi and 2 pi, we get 3 pi over 2, which is where the trough is. So it's kind of easier perhaps to remember, just keep halving the values and you'll get the key points on the graph. Let's bring down these conversions and look at the next one, which is y equals cos of x. And so I know the shape of this graph will remain the same. So I know it starts off at 1, goes down to -1, and then comes back up to 1 again. And I know that it first crosses the x-axis here at 90 degrees. Well, I know that's pi over 2 radians. I know it has this trough here when x is equal to 180. Well, that's pi radians. I know it crosses the x-axis again at 270 degrees, which is 3 pi over 2 radians. And I know it completes its full period after 360 degrees, which is 2 pi radians. Again, we can kind of remember this trick of halving by saying, well, the full period is 2 pi. If I half that, I get pi, which is at the trough. If I go halfway between pi and 0, I get pi over 2, which is where it crosses the x-axis. And if I go halfway between pi and 2 pi, I get where it crosses the x-axis again at 3 pi over 2. Let's look at the last graph, and we're sketching tan between 0 and 2 pi. So I know tan starts off at 0, and it goes up and has an asymptote here. And I know this asymptote occurs at 90 degrees, which we've said is pi over 2 radians, so I can write that on like this. Then it pings down to -infinity, comes up, crosses the x-axis and has another asymptote, and then it goes back to 0. So I know it crosses the x-axis here after 180 degrees, which is pi radians. I know it has this second asymptote at 270 degrees, or 3 pi over 2 radians. And I know it crosses the x-axis again at 2 pi. And I suppose you can also remember this little trick of just halving to get the key points. So if you're at 2 pi and you half it, you get where it crosses the x-axis at pi. If you go halfway between 0 and pi, you get the first asymptote at pi over 2. And if you go halfway between pi and 2 pi, 3 pi over 2 is your second asymptote. So hopefully this video was useful. If it was, please do go over to my channel where I have loads of other maths tutorials. And you can also go over to my website, which I'll link in the video description. And if you go over there, you can navigate all of my videos in one place. And I think it's a bit easier to find what you're looking for than it is just through searching on YouTube. Thanks for watching.